Jack woke up with a strange feeling, his body tingling as though it had been changed in some way. He sat up in bed, rubbing his eyes and trying to shake off the grogginess of sleep. But then he saw it on his arms. His chest and his legs were glowing, strange marks. They looked like intricate patterns, almost like tattoos. But they weren't there when he went to bed the night before. His heart began to race. What were these marks? Were they some kind of strange dream or hallucination? Stood up quickly. Looking at himself in the mirror, the marks seemed to pulse with a faint light, and they didn't fade away, no matter how much he rubbed or tried to wash them off. What the hell is going on? Jack muttered to himself, his mind spinning. He tried to calm down but found it hard. These marks weren't normal. He'd never seen anything like them before. Were they a sign of something bad? Maybe an infection? Or a side effect of something he had eaten? Jack grabbed his phone and started searching the internet for answers. But the more he searched, the more questions he had. No one seemed to know what the marks were, and none of the explanations made sense. Some sites talked about rare skin conditions, others suggested it was some kind of alien marking. Alien? Jack laughed nervously at the thought. That was crazy. There was no way an alien had anything to do with this, right? He went to the kitchen and splashed cold water on his face, hoping it would wake him up. His phone buzzed in his pocket. It was a text message from his best friend Aaron. Hey Jack, you good? You look sick in your last photo? What's with the marks? Jack stared at the text. How had Aaron seen the marks? He hadn't told anyone about them yet. Texted back quickly. I don't know, man. Woke up with these weird glowing marks on me. It's freaking me out, Aaron replied almost instantly. What are you talking about? I didn't see anything. You sure you're okay? Confused, Jack stood up and walked over to the window. The sunlight shone through the curtains, casting a soft glow over the room. He noticed something strange. The marks seemed to glow brighter as the sunlight hit them. He reached up to touch one on his neck and instantly felt a surge of energy rush through him. It was as if the mark was alive, connected to something inside him. He pulled his hand away, heart pounding. Suddenly the door to his apartment opened without warning. Jack spun around to see a woman standing in the doorway. She was tall, with striking features, and her eyes green and glowing faintly looked straight at him as if she had been expecting him. She smiled softly, though there was a touch of sadness in her expression. Jack, she said in a calm, melodic voice, the change has begun. Jack froze, his mouth dry. Who are you? He asked, trying to sound calm, though panic was building inside him. What do you mean, the change? The woman stepped into the room slowly, her movements graceful, almost otherworldly. She wore a long, flowing cloak that shimmered with strange patterns that seemed to move as if alive. It was clear she was no ordinary person. My name is Zara, she said, and I've been waiting for this moment. You are part of something much bigger than you can understand right now. Jack took a step back, his mind racing. Don't understand, he said, his voice trembling slightly. What's happening to me? Zara's eyes softened as she looked at him. The marks on your body are not random. They are part of a transformation. You've been chosen. Chosen, Jack repeated, his voice barely a whisper. Chosen for what? I don't know you. I don't understand any of this. As if expecting him to be confused. You were chosen a long time ago, Jack. This process began long before you were born. But now, the time has come. The energy within you is awakening, and you will soon have abilities beyond your comprehension. Jack shook his head. Abilities? What are you talking about? I'm just a normal guy. Zara's eyes glimmered with something Jack couldn't quite place. You may think you're just a normal guy, but the truth is, you are anything but. These marks are a key, a sign that you are part of something much greater. You are now part of an ancient project that was abandoned long ago, one that was meant to give humans abilities that no other species in the universe possesses. Jack felt a cold chill run through him. This couldn't be real. Are you saying I've been part of some kind of experiment? Zara didn't answer right away, but instead, she stepped forward, looking at the marks on his body with a deep, knowing gaze. The experiment was abandoned because it was too dangerous. But the project is being revived now, and you are one of the first to undergo the change. You are connected to a force far beyond anything you know. Jack felt a surge. of fear and excitement. He wasn't sure if he should run or if he should stay and listen. There were too many questions swirling in his mind. Was this woman telling the truth? Or was he going crazy? The change has begun, Zara repeated softly, her voice almost soothing. There's no going back. Jack's heart pounded in his chest. He looked at the strange marks on his arms and legs, now glowing brighter than before. What happens now? He asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. Zara took a deep breath, her eyes filled with understanding. Now, you must prepare. The power within you is only the beginning, but it will grow stronger, faster than you can imagine. You must learn to control it. Jack felt his pulse quicken. There was no turning back. His life was about to change forever. Jack stood frozen, the words Zara spoke echoing in his mind. The marks on his body, the strange power he was starting to feel. And now, this alien woman who claimed he was part of something big or nothing made sense. His mind raced, trying to process the impossible. Zara watched him closely, her eyes glowing softly as if she could sense the confusion and fear swirling within him. She spoke again, her voice calm but firm. I know this is hard to understand, Jack, but the marks are not just a sign of change. They are the beginning of something more powerful than you can imagine. Jack ran his hand over the glowing marks on his arm. They pulsed gently under his touch, like they were alive, responding to his every movement. Couldn't shake the feeling that something inside him was waking up, something deep within him that had been dormant until now. Why me? He asked, his voice cracking slightly. Why was I chosen? Zara stepped closer, her eyes softening. We're chosen because you are human. You, along with a few others, were selected for this transformation because of your unique ability to adapt. You'll find that humans are more powerful than you realize. These marks are part of a program that was started a long time ago, meant to give certain individuals extraordinary abilities, but the project was abandoned before it could be completed. Jack's heart pounded. Extraordinary abilities? Are you saying I'm going to become some kind of superhuman? The thought seemed absurd, but the marks on his body were hard to ignore. They felt real. It's more real than anything he had ever experienced. Zara nodded. Yes, the abilities you'll gain will be like nothing you've ever seen. Strength, speed, heightened senses, these are just the beginning. But there is more, much more, that you will unlock as you progress. Jack shook his head, still struggling. To understand, but I don't even know what's happening to me. How can I control something I don't even understand? Zara smiled gently, understanding his fear. That's why I'm here, Jack, to help you. The first step in controlling these changes is to understand them. I'll train you, teach you how to focus the energy, and learn to control it. But it won't be easy. The power inside you can be overwhelming, and without control, it can become dangerous. Jack tried to absorb what she was saying. Part of him wanted to run, to escape from the strange reality he was now part of. But another part, something deep inside him, felt drawn to Zara, to the idea that he could become something more than he had ever imagined. Could he really have these abilities? Was he ready for it? So what do I do now? Jack asked, looking at her with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Zara nodded. Now, you begin your training. But before that, you need to understand the truth. These marks on your body are not just a part of the transformation. They are a key to a hidden power that connects you to an ancient force. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. A hidden power? What kind of power? Zara paused for a moment before answering. The power that these marks unlock is not just physical. It's a form of energy, and energy that connects you to a network of ancient knowledge, a network that exists far beyond the reaches of human understanding. The program was designed to give humans access to this energy, but it was abandoned because it was too dangerous. The truth is, those who underwent this transformation before you, they lost control. Jack's mind reeled at the implications. Lost control? What happened to them? Zara's expression darkened. They were consumed by the power. They couldn't control it, and it destroyed them. But I believe you are different. You have the potential to master it, to use it for good. That's why I'm here. so make sure you don't make the same mistakes they did. Jack's heart raced. The idea of losing control terrified him. But the idea of gaining this power, of being able to do things he could never have imagined, was equally tempting. So, how do I begin? Jack asked, his voice steadying. Zara's eyes glimmered. First, we need to help you focus. The marks on your body are a source of energy, and they will react to your emotions. If you're calm, the energy will be more manageable. But if you panic, if you let your fear take over, the power will become uncontrollable. That's the key to mastering it, learning to keep your emotions in check. Jack nodded slowly. He wasn't sure if he was ready for this, but something deep inside him told him that he had no choice. The marks, the power, the transformation, this was his reality now. If he wanted to survive, he would have to learn to control it. Zara led him to a quiet space in the apartment, free from distractions. Take a deep breath, she instructed. Close your eyes and focus on the marks. Feel the energy inside them. Don't try to force it, just let it come to you. Jack did, as she said, closing his eyes and breathing deeply. At first, there was nothing, just the sound of his own breath. But then, slowly, he felt something. It was subtle at first, a faint hum in his chest. The marks on his arms and legs seemed to respond to his focus, glowing brighter, pulsing with an energy that was both foreign and familiar. He concentrated harder, trying to feel the energy more clearly. And then, without warning, he felt a rush of power flood through him. His muscles tensed, and his heart raced. It was overwhelming, like a wave crashing over him. He gasped for air, his body shaking with the intensity of it. Stay calm, Zara's voice cut through the chaos in his mind. Breathe. You have to learn to control it. Jack fought to steady his breathing, focusing on the calm feeling that Zara had described. Slowly, the energy began to fade, settling into a steady pulse rather than a wild surge. He opened his eyes, feeling drained but strangely empowered. Zara watched him carefully. Good, you're starting to understand. It's only the beginning. Jack, you'll need to practice, but you're on the right path. Jack looked at her, determination in his eyes. I'll learn. I have to. Zara nodded, a small smile playing at the corner of her lips. I believe in you, Jack. You're going to be stronger than you think. Jack woke up the next morning with a sense of unease. The marks on his body were still there, still glowing faintly as they had the night before. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, like his entire life had shifted in ways he couldn't understand. The events of the past day had been a blur, but Zara's words were clear in his mind. He had changed. Something had awakened inside him, and there was no going back. He sat up in bed and looked down at his arms. Marks were pulsating, almost as if they had a life of their own. His heart skipped a beat. Was this it? Was the change happening already? The night before, Zara had told him that the transformation would come in stages. First, he would begin to notice changes in his physical abilities, strength, speed, and heightened senses. Then as time passed, his connection to the ancient energy would grow stronger. But what did it all mean? How would he control it? As Jack stood up, he felt an unfamiliar energy coursing through him. It wasn't just a feeling in his mind. It was physical, as if every cell in his body was vibrating. With power, he took a deep breath and stepped forward. The room seemed to stretch out before him, and for a split second, he felt a strange pull and urge to move faster, to do something beyond his usual reach. Without thinking, Jack bolted across the room. His feet barely touched the ground as he moved faster than he had ever run in his life. He was across the room in an instant, heart pounding. He had never felt anything like it. It was as if his body had suddenly become lighter, more powerful. He stopped and stood there, breathing heavily. His mind was racing. What just happened? Had he really moved that fast? It didn't make sense. It couldn't be real. But the feeling. In his body, the energy, it was undeniable. The marks on his arms glowed brighter, and Jack's heart skipped a beat. He had never been a runner. He'd always been average, just like everyone else. But now he was something different. He wasn't sure what to make of it, but he knew one thing. This change wasn't just physical, it was more than that. And it was just the beginning. As Jack tried to calm his breathing, a sudden knock on the door startled him. Quickly walked over and opened it, only to find Zara standing there, her eyes looking at him with a mixture of concern and curiosity. "I felt it," Zara said softly. "The power, it's starting to awaken in you." Jack stared at her, still trying to process what had just happened. "I moved so fast, I don't even know how. One minute I was standing there, and the next minute I was across the room. This is insane." Zara nodded, her expression serious. "It's just the beginning, Jack. The marks are unlocking your potential and your abilities are starting to manifest. But this is only the first change. You'll feel the power grow stronger in the coming days. Your senses will sharpen and your strength will increase. But you need to be careful. Without control, the power can overwhelm you." Jack clenched his fists, feeling the energy stirring inside him. "I don't know if I can control it. It feels too big, like it's too much for me." Zara stepped forward and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone in this, Jack. I'm here to help you. But you need to understand one thing. The power you're feeling is not a curse. It's a gift. You just have to learn how to embrace it, how to channel it." Jack looked down at his hands. They were still shaking slightly from the burst of energy. He had just felt, didn't know what he was supposed to do next. He had no training, no guidance beyond Zara's cryptic words. How could he control something he didn't understand? "I'm scared," Jack admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Ah! What if I can't handle it? What if I hurt someone?" Zara's eyes softened. "I understand, but fear is natural. It's what makes us human. The question is, what will you do with that fear? Will you let it control you, or will you use it to guide you?" Jack thought about her words for a moment. Fear had always been something that held him back. It had kept him from taking risks, from pushing himself past his limits. But now, with these powers awakening inside him, fear felt different. It wasn't just a feeling, it was a force that could either hold him back or push him forward. "Okay," Jack said, finally meeting Zara's eyes. "I'll try, but I need to know how to control it." "How do I stop it from taking over?" Zara nodded, her face calm and reassuring. "This first step is to understand your emotions. The marks on your body respond to how you feel. If you're calm, the energy will be easier to control. But if you're angry or afraid, the energy will become harder to manage. You need to find balance within yourself." Jack took a deep breath and nodded. "I'll try, but I still don't know how." Zara smiled gently. "It takes time, Jack, but you're strong. You have the potential to be stronger than you think." Jack glanced at the marks on his arms once more, their glow pulsating softly. It felt like something was calling to him, a force beyond his understanding. He didn't know how to control it yet, but he was beginning to realize that the change he was going through wasn't something to fear, it was something he could use. Zara turned toward the door. "We'll start your training tomorrow. For now, rest. Focus on staying calm and let the energy settle within you." As Jack watched her leave, he felt a surge of determination. He didn't know what the future held or how he was going to learn to control this power. But one thing was certain, he was no longer the same person he had been yesterday. The change had begun, and he was ready to face whatever came next. The next few days were a blur for Jack. As Zara had predicted, his powers were growing stronger by the hour. He could feel it in every part of his body, the energy surging through his veins. The marks on his skin glowing brighter each day. The changes were undeniable, but despite the strange new strength he was gaining, Jack couldn't shake the nagging feeling of unease that had settled deep within him. The power inside him was growing uncontrollable, more intense with each passing moment. He wasn't sure if he could keep up with it, or if he even wanted to. Zara had been training him every day, teaching him how to focus the energy within him. She had him practice controlling his emotions, learning to keep calm no matter what. But the power was so new, so overwhelming, that he often found it hard to focus. Inside him, threatening to burst out. It was terrifying. Today, Zara had asked him to meet her at the small training area she had set up for him. It was a quiet room, free from distractions, where he could practice focusing his powers. Jack had gotten used to the place by now, but he still felt a sense of dread every time he stepped inside. What if he lost control again? The room Zara was already there waiting for him. She stood near the center of the room, her arms crossed, watching him closely. "You're late." "How are you feeling?" Jack shrugged, trying to look casual. "Same as usual, but it's getting harder to control it." "I don't know if I can keep doing this." Zara's expression softened. "I know it's not easy, Jack, but you have to understand, the energy inside you is not just about power, it's about balance. You can't control it if you're fighting it. You have to learn to work with it." "I know," Jack said, running a hand through his hair. "But what if I can't? What if it's too much?" Zara stepped forward, her tone serious. "Then you risk losing everything. The energy inside you isn't just a tool, it's a force. If you can't control it, it will control you. That's not something you want to face." Jack swallowed hard. The idea of losing control, of becoming a danger to everyone around him, was something that haunted him. He didn't want to hurt anyone, but sometimes it felt like the energy was too powerful, like it wanted to take over. "Are you saying that I could become a danger?" Jack asked quietly. Zara nodded slowly. "Yes, the marks on your body are part of an ancient program. But not everyone who went through this transformation came out the other side in one piece. Many lost themselves to the power. Some became something ... different, something dangerous." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. He had always thought of power as something that could help people, protect them. But the way Zara spoke made him realize that power could just as easily destroy. "What happened to them?" Jack asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Zara hesitated before answering. "Some of the people who underwent the transformation before you became consumed by the energy. They couldn't handle it, and it took over their minds. It became something ... monstrous. Others simply lost control and destroyed everything around them. The program was shut down after that, but now it's being revived." Jack's heart raced. "Do you think I could become like them? Like one of those ... monsters?" Zara's eyes were full of empathy as she walked over to him. "I don't know, Jack. I wish I could give you an answer. It's ancient, and we don't fully understand it. All I know is that you have the potential to control it. But you must focus. You must train harder than ever before." Jack nodded slowly, taking in her words. The weight of what she said was sinking in. The idea of losing control and becoming a danger to those he cared about was something he couldn't ignore. He had to find a way to master this power. He had to make sure he didn't end up like the others. "I'll try harder," Jack said finally, determination in his voice. "I don't want to become like them. I won't let the power control me." Zara's gaze softened, and she placed a hand on his shoulder. "I believe in you, Jack. But remember, this won't be easy. You're up against something ancient, something far beyond what you can imagine. But you are not alone. I'll help you every step of the way." Jack looked at her, feeling the weight of her words. He didn't fully understand what the transformation was, or how he could control the power within him. But one thing was clear. He couldn't do this alone. He needed Zara, and he needed to stay strong. Zara stepped back, her expression turning serious once again. "Now, let's begin. The next phase of your training is more intense. You need to learn to focus your energy even when you're under pressure. That's the key to controlling it." Jack nodded, feeling the familiar sense of nervousness settling in. He wasn't sure if he was ready, but he knew there was no turning back. He had to face this head dash on. As Zara began to guide him through the next phase of his training, Jack focused all his attention on controlling the energy inside him. The marks on his skin glowed faintly, but Jack pushed forward, determined to stay in control. He could feel the energy pulsing within him, but this time it didn't feel as wild. It felt controlled. He was making progress, and for the first time Jack allowed himself to believe that he could do this. But as he pushed forward, the nagging feeling of fear stayed in the back of his mind. He knew this was just the beginning, and there was so much more to learn. What would happen when the power grew even stronger? Could he really keep it under control? Zara's voice broke through his thoughts. "You're doing well, Jack, but remember, stay focused. The energy will always test you. But as long as you stay calm, you can control it. He wasn't sure what the future held, but he knew one thing. He had to stay focused. He had to control the power. For his own sake, can't for the sake of everyone around him. Jack had been training non-stop for the past few weeks, and though the energy inside him was more controlled than before, it still felt like a ticking time bomb. The marks on his skin continued to glow, pulsating with power, as if they were reminding him of the responsibility he now carried. Zara had been his constant guide, teaching him to stay calm and focused. But the pressure was starting to weigh on him. Today, she had told him that it was time for the final test. The test to see if he could truly control the power inside him. Jack had no idea what to expect, but the thought of failing, of losing control, kept him on edge. He didn't want to become one of those who couldn't handle the transformation. He couldn't let the power consume him. Zara led him into a large, empty training room, its walls bare except for a few ancient symbols etched into the stone. The room had a strange energy about it, like it was alive, humming with a low, steady pulse. Jack's heart began to race as Zara stood in front of him, her face serious. "This is it, Jack," she said quietly. "The final test. You've learned the basics of control, but now you'll face your greatest challenge. You will have to use everything you've learned to hold the power inside you, even when it's at its peak. If you fail, you risk losing yourself." Jack swallowed hard. He knew the stakes, but the thought of facing the power at its peak made his stomach churn. What if he couldn't control it? What if it was too much? Zara placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember, Jack, this power is a part of you now. But you are the one who decides how it will shape you. You are the one in control." Jack nodded, his body tense. He took a deep breath, focusing on the marks on his arms, trying to calm his nerves. The energy within him was always there, waiting. But today, it felt stronger, more eager to break free. Zara stepped back. "I'm going to test your ability to control the power under pressure. I'll be pushing you, Jack. You need to stay focused. If you lose control, I will stop immediately, but you must hold on as long as you can." Jack stood still, his mind racing. He had come this far. He couldn't fail now. Had to pass this test. For himself. For the people around him. Zara raised her hand, and suddenly, Jack felt the room shift. The energy in the air thickened, and the marks on his skin began to glow more brightly. It was as if the entire room was drawing from the power within him, testing his limits. Jack felt the pull of the energy, as if it wanted to consume him, take him over. He clenched his fists, trying to keep calm. "Stay with me, Jack," Zara's voice cut through the chaos. "Focus on your breath. Control the energy. Don't let it control you." Jack closed his eyes, focusing on his breathing, just as Zara had taught him. Slowly, the overwhelming feeling of the energy began to fade. It was still there, simmering under the surface, but he was learning to keep it at bay. He was getting better at this. He could do this. The room around him began to blur as the energy built up inside him. It felt like the world was spinning faster and faster, and Jack's heart was racing to keep up. He felt the surge of power pushing against him, testing his resolve. It was like holding back a storm, trying to control something so big that it threatened to swallow him whole. Zara's voice broke through the rush of energy again. "Good, you're doing well, but you need to focus more. Let the energy flow through you, not against you." Jack clenched his teeth, focusing even harder. He could feel the power pushing against him, trying to break through. His whole body was shaking, but he didn't let go. He focused on the steady beat of his heart, the rhythm of his breathing. Had to stay calm. The marks on his skin were glowing brighter now, almost blinding in their intensity. Jack's legs trembled with the strain of holding back the energy, but he refused to let it overwhelm him. He had to prove to himself that he could control it. As the minutes passed, Jack could feel his strength waning. His body was growing tired, and the energy was becoming harder to control. The power was so close to breaking free, so close to consuming him. His mind raced with fear. What if he couldn't do this? What if he failed? Zara's voice came again, softer this time. "Jack, Remember who you are. You are the one in control, not the power." With those words, something inside him clicked. He realized that he wasn't fighting the energy. He was working with it. He was part of it. It wasn't a force to be feared. It was a part of him. And as soon as he accepted that, the power stopped pushing against him. It flowed through him, steady and controlled. Jack opened his eyes, feeling the energy inside him settle. The room was still humming with power, but the intensity had faded. He stood there, breathing heavily, his body shaking from the effort. He had done it. Zara walked toward him, a look of pride on her face. "You did it, Jack. You passed the test. You've learned to control the power within you." Jack exhaled deeply, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. "I didn't think I could. I thought I was going to lose control." Zara smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder again. "That's the hardest part, believing you can control it. But now you know, Jack. You have the strength to handle this. You are ready." Jack looked down at his glowing marks, a sense of wonder. Filling him, he had come so far. Wasn't the same person he had been when this all started. And now he felt stronger than ever before. He had faced the power and controlled it. He had passed the final test. But deep down, Jack knew that this was just the beginning. There would be more challenges ahead, more dangers. But he was ready to face them. The change was complete, and he was in control. Jack stood in the middle of the training room, his body still buzzing from the intense training session he had just completed. The power inside him was now more familiar, like an old friend that he had come to understand. But with that understanding came a new challenge. He knew the power was not something that could be kept under control forever. There would be times when the energy inside him would surge, threatening to break free. And in those moments, he had to be ready. Zara had been. Right. The final test had taught him something important. Control was not about forcing the power down, but about allowing it to flow through him, guiding it, instead of fighting it. It was a lesson he had learned the hard way, but it was one he would carry with him for the rest of his life. But as the days passed, Jack began to realize that control wasn't the only thing he needed to worry about. There was something else, something darker that was watching him. Zara had warned him about the alien faction that had once created the transformation program. They were the ones who had started it all, and now they were hunting down the people who had been transformed. They wanted to take control of the power, to use it for their own purposes. And Jack, with his newfound abilities, was at the top of their list. Jack had hoped that the faction would forget about him, that they would move on to something else. But as the days passed, the feeling that he was being watched grew stronger. He began to notice strange things, shadowy figures in the corners of his vision, unfamiliar vehicles passing by his apartment, and a sense of unease that followed him wherever he went. It was clear now that the faction was coming for him. They would stop at nothing to capture him and harness the power he had unlocked. Jack couldn't let that happen. He had to protect himself and everyone else who might be caught in the crossfire. One evening, as Jack walked home from a training session with Zara, he felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. He wasn't alone. Someone was following him. The city streets were empty, the usual hum of traffic quieted by the late hour. But Jack's instincts were screaming that something wasn't right. He turned a corner quickly, ducking into an alleyway, to try and lose whoever was behind him. The footsteps that followed were swift, just a few steps behind. Jack felt the energy within him flare as his senses heightened. He could hear every footstep, feel the presence of the stranger closing in on him. As he reached the end of the alley, Jack stopped and turned, facing his pursuer. A tall figure emerged from the shadows, wearing dark clothing and a helmet that obscured their face. Jack's heart raced as the figure took a step closer. "I know who you are." "Jack," the figure said in a voice that was cold and mechanical. "The transformation. You think you're in control? You don't understand what you're dealing with. We want that power. You can't hide from us." Jack's stomach dropped. He had heard of the faction, but this was the first time he had come face to face with one of their agents. This was real. They were hunting him down. "I'm not giving it to you," Jack said, his voice steady but his heart pounding. "You can't have this power. It's mine. The agent laughed, a harsh, hollow sound. You don't have a choice. The power belongs to us. You're just a Tula vessel for something much greater. You'll see. Before Jack could react, the agent raised a weapon, aimed directly at him. The air seemed to hum with energy, and for a moment everything stood still. Jack could feel the power inside him rising, ready to explode. He could either fight back or he could let the agent take him, but Jack wasn't going to be a victim. He couldn't let the power fall into the wrong hands. With a burst of speed, Jack darted to the side, narrowly avoiding the blast. The agent's weapon fired again, but this time Jack was ready. He focused all of his energy into his legs, moving faster than he ever had before, dodging the attacks with ease. He couldn't believe it. This was it. The power he had been training to control it was finally real. Jack was using it not just to protect himself, but to fight back. His body moved like a blur, faster than the agent could follow. He didn't need to think. He just reacted, allowing the energy to guide him. The agent tried to turn, but Jack was already on top of him. With a sharp movement, Jack grabbed the agent's arm, twisting it until the weapon dropped to the ground. The agent struggled, but Jack held firm, using the strength that the transformation had given him. You don't have to do this, Jack said, his voice low but steady. Leave me alone, and I'll walk away. This doesn't have to end in violence. Agent's helmeted face was unreadable, but Jack could sense the tension in their body. For a moment, it felt like the world was at a standstill, but then the agent broke free. Pushing Jack back with a surprising amount of force, "You're not in control, Jack," the agent sneered. "You don't understand what you're up against. This is bigger than you." The agent quickly raised their weapon again, aiming it at Jack, but before they could fire, Jack acted on instinct. The energy inside him surged, and with a burst of power, he launched himself at the agent. In one quick motion, he knocked the weapon out of the agent's hand, sending it skidding across the pavement. The agent staggered back, clearly stunned. Jack stood over them, breathing heavily, his body still buzzing with power. The agent was down, but Jack knew this wouldn't be the end. It would be more agents, more threats. "I'm not giving up," Jack said, his voice strong. "You'll have to kill me first." The agent, clearly recognizing Jack's resolve, slowly stood up. "This isn't over," they said, before retreating into the shadows. Jack stood there for a moment, his heart racing. He had just fought back, but he knew this was only the beginning. The faction would stop at nothing to get the power inside. Him and he would have to keep fighting, for himself, for everyone. As Jack walked away, he realized that he was no longer the same person who had first woken up with strange marks on his body. He had changed, and now he was ready to fight back. The battle for control was just beginning.